minutes past 8. Good morning. My name is Ifeyemi Andrew. We get on with that conversation on the Morning Crossfire. And if you have been following, the event in Rivers State still topping every single newspaper, TV, radio stations. I mean, everybody, world all over, have their eyes on the situation in Rivers State. And for many people, the wonder is why we haven't really heard much of a conversation about the situation from the federal government or even the national leadership of the PDP, from where the governor of Rivers State is from politically, amongst many other concerns. And in fact, everything got heightened yesterday with the revelations we got upon the visit of the members of the National Assembly and the supposed averted explosion, dynamite explosion, and etc., etc. But there's one particular angle to all of this that we've not been able to really look at and ask questions of. And that's the angle we would be looking at today. Prior to this time, we've also heard the governor one time say that in Rivers State, leaders that will address leaders that, paraphrasing now, I can't get his exact words, but he questioned leaders with enough moral standard to be able to, speak and people will listen. Says we don't have many of them anymore in Rivers State. And most of the leaders traditionally that we have, either already political or financially induced and so on and so forth. Well, and that was when he was making example to similar situations in Bayelsa State and how you have elders and leaders that people would listen to. But it's one thing for a leader to speak or an elder to speak. It is another thing for who they are speaking to choose to listen. Well, this morning, we are going to look at the role of religious leaders and the church in regards to the political instability in Rivers State and how we address it. Does the church have any role to play in resolving the political issues the state is facing at the moment? Well, my guest this morning is the chairman of the PFN in Rivers State, Dr. Minaibi Dagogo Jack. Sir, you're welcome and good morning to you.
Thank you, Ifeyemi.
It's been a while. I think this is the first time this year we're having you in the studio, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
Yes, so I should say Happy New Year.
Even
if we're already in the midst of the year. All right, let's get straight into it. And let's start with the leading question we have there on Facebook for our listeners to also respond to. Does the church have any role to play with regards to resolving what we are seeing politically in Rivers State?
Yes, we do have roles to play, and we have been performing the role. I will speak basically from the angle of the Pentecostal churches, denomination. We, by God's grace, happen to be the largest denomination in the state. We have been praying. That's the first major thing we will do. The PFN Rivers State chapter created the Prayer Quick program, and we pray every now and then. Now, collectively we pray through our Prayer Quick programs. We also allow our churches to pray individually, and they are doing that. But apart from that, we need to speak out to condemn some of these errors in the society. The crisis in Rivers State is affecting our churches, our people. Now, when you start coming to the radio in this manner to talk, the society will condemn you. Man of God, why are you talking? You're supposed to be a father. The problem we have today is because leaders have stopped talking. Leaders, because of doctrinal, denominational, ethical principles. Leaders refuse to talk. They think that when you keep quiet, in the same way we kept quiet and Christianity is being reduced all over the world, thinking that ethics will not allow you to talk, ethics will not allow you to react. But I think that it behoves on us to condemn this thing. Enough is enough. The crisis in Rivers is too huge. It's affecting our economy. It's affecting our people. You can imagine now people we hear over the radio an alleged bomb
dynamite explosion that was averted.
Something. Let me tell you, if not for the prayers of this church, if not for God, you may not know what that would have caused. So the crisis in this state is too much. They call themselves politicians and they don't want to listen to leaders. What kind of people are these?
Yeah, there are those that will quickly say, you mentioned ethical, and I think it's only fair that I put up this question, because there are those who say, we cannot say that this is political, but then because of the political situation and tension in the state, it is very easy for anyone to point and say, oh, this could have some political leaning, because we don't see these sort of things happen in Rivers State, and Rivers people are not fashioned in that manner where one would just want to go and blow up, take a dynamite and want to go blow up. I mean, at least to a large extent that we know about Rivers people. But regardless, it brings us to what you said about ethical, where now, like you said, it's difficult for some people to say, oh, this act you are taking is wrong. There would always be someone that would say, why would you say that? Where does this then put the church? Because for many, they say beyond praying, we haven't seen leaders in the church, pastors, come out outrightly. I remember the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, saying, if a person is a thief, say this person is a thief. This person is a thief. Don't say it is corruption. Because back then, in the old days in the village, this is what they shame you and point you out. And everybody knows. But these days, we can't do that. And we've not seen leaders in the church outrightly mention who is acting in a wrong way and say this is wrong, because even fathers do it with their children. If one is acting wrongly, you point him out and say, this behavior is wrong. Why don't we see that from leaders in religious leadership generally, but the church precisely?
It's shocking that you say you've not seen that. For most times that you've invited me, I have always condemned some of these things. You recall that when this crisis started, at a point, I was in this studio and I condemned this. I'm a leader of the body of Christ. I condemned it. One question I asked was, can these people who are fighting the governor tell us the sins of the governor? From this here studio. And I condemned this act. Now, these people don't listen to leaders. And then some leaders are afraid of the criticism they will receive. And so they go into their house or into their coven, calling it ethics. I mean, it is wrong for a people and House of Assembly to extend its tenure. It's not been done. It's too wrong. And it's important that we condemn this. That is the whole thing. If the president called these people for a peace treaty, and then you start giving problems from the House of Assembly to the governor, you will ignite the problem in him. And these things are wrong. You go on and then do an extension. It is wrong. It means that a governor can also extend his own tenure. The National Assembly can also extend the tenure of the president. These are areas you don't go near at all. And then after your tenure is expired, people are demonstrating because they believe that the extension had been given to them. Who does that, please? And that's why I am saying that each time I appear in this studio, I speak my mind. Because the Bible says, let all things be done decently and in order. It is not orderly, it is not also decent for a House of Assembly to pass a law for an extension of local government chairman. This is one of the major crises we have today.
But they also argue that is it not wrong for the governor to want to use CTC chairman, or to not have wanted to conduct elections before the expiration of the term of the council chairman. All of these arguments, it now brings up the political rules and regulations that are also.
Excuse me. Let's face this issue.
Yeah.
Have you asked the governor? Have you had a meeting with him? Have you had a meeting with the RISIEC, a commission that was set for a social election? Their preparedness, because it takes money. Have you had a discussion with these people, RISIEC and the governor, to know if they are prepared? And if they are not prepared, what next do you do? Because the constitution does not allow for a vacuum. Have you asked yourself also that if I set up a 6 months extension, is it constitutional? So these are the questions we ask. So you did not do that. You just went ahead without having a discussion. Or look, some of the things you do, for goodness sake, what I observe is that they have continued to believe that the electorate, the people who voted them to power, do not have the right to know a thing. For instance, you are impeaching a governor. The people do not know the reason why you're impeaching him, the offense he has committed. And then you want to have a dialogue to extend it. So you don't want the people to know because you think they have elected you. You do anything you like. For me, it is condemnable. And that is why I stand to condemn this act. This is one of the major problems in the state today. Please, somebody should not think that he is the head of the state. The state belongs to all of us. There are leaders in the state. You don't own it. People helped you to become a leader in this state. And so you must respect the people who helped you. People prayed for you. The church leaders prayed for you. You must respect them. You don't make yourself that I own the thing and in the name of a structure, I must keep my structure. These things are wrong, for goodness sake. Let's stop this, for goodness sake. The fear of God is no more in politics. That's one thing I see. I have been in the corridor of politics, and I understand the politicians. When you talk to them, sometimes they say, sir, this one is not a prayer, this is not a religious matter. It is political matter, it means political solution. Who told you that it's political solution? We are all suffering it. The church members are suffering it. If there is, can you imagine the senators were in a meeting, they came for a program or whatever, and they were in the hotel, and then somebody was to throw a dynamite, and mistakenly it killed him, or rather it injured him. And then what if that has injured the senators? And people are sitting there, leaders are sitting there, church religious leaders are sitting there, not talking. This is too bad. Please, we can't continue this way in this state. It is too bad. So if possible, I'm calling on leaders to please, if we can come together and call these people to order. Because you called some of these people, they don't even pick your calls. They tell you that it's political.
Which is where it is, because some people will say, I mean, these people belong to churches. And people even question the fact that you see some of the churches give their platforms to leaders, governors, ministers, commissioners to make certain statements that ordinarily you would not expect. Is it compulsory that, because a leader, a governor is in church, he has to speak, he has to be given the mic? In fact, in some cases, you see some church leaders who even make certain comments that, that seem as though, this person is better than this person, and like you said, the ethics and society then comes. Is it out of place for the church to participate actively in politics, or even go as far as saying, this is who I like? Where do you draw the line with politics, ethics, and your work as a man of God?
No, there is God factor in politics. There is God factor in governance. Now, when the society started losing the God factor, because no man becomes there if God does not allow him to be there. Now, no man gets there if God does not allow him or her to be there. And so, when we notice that this God factor, the relevance of God, the preachings of his word, the fear of God amongst politicians and leadership in governance is gradually diminishing, we try to ensure that we talk to these people on our own privately, observing ethical principles, and they will not hear. That's why the PFN introduced the DPG, the Directorate of Politics and Good Governance. You understand, last time we made some statements. CAN also, I don't want to call CAN because I'm not speaking for CAN. I don't want to be asked questions. We represent, but we are part of CAN. I'm talking for PFN now. Now, even CAN introduced the DPG, and a signal was sent concerning the leadership, even at the federal level. Politicians neglected. That was an obvious signal to tell you that they would neglect the church. The fear of God and God factor is reducing. Now, it could be several factors causing it. Yes, I agree. Even we, the pastors, should learn how to discipline ourselves. But there is no separation. If you are not there in the Bible days, there's so much separation. Yes, politicians will tell you today this is democracy, and the type of government pattern was different then. But there's no separation at all. So we have decided that godly people must go into government. We left this politics for them so much that they cannot fear you anymore. They can't take wise counsel anymore. When in the multitude of counselors, there will be safety. Today, there is no more safety because counselors are no more there. Leaders, religious leaders are no more there.
To say counselors are no more there, is it that the counselors that they have,
them.
But they must have, even to do what is in term inappropriate or against the people, it's also somebody counseling them to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
So perhaps they are yielding to the wrong counsel.
That's why we are saying no man that has fear of God, no religious leader that genuinely fears God will want to enjoy what is happening today in River State. And that's why I say we must condemn these things. You cannot go to the politicians as a leader, religious leader, take some money from them and begin to do their bid. We don't do that. Now, let me talk, the present PFN, we don't do that anymore. We don't do that at all. If you hear me speak, I speak. Let me tell you something. Jesus in Matthew 23, verse 23, talked about those paying tithe and neglecting weightier things like justice.
Let's hold the thought there and take a commercial. We continue afterwards. The conversation continues on the Morning Crossfire. Dr. Minaibi Dagogo Jack is with us in the studio still, and plenty to talk about, but we'll open the phone lines shortly and we'll take contributions as well. I'm sure you have plenty of questions on Facebook, messages sent in on WhatsApp. If you haven't joined us on Facebook, you can do that now. We are streaming live at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, on YouTube, Nigeria Info PH, on X, Nigeria Info PH, so you can join us any of those platforms, or send in a message on WhatsApp 0809 030 6416. I'll go back to my guests now. Sir, before the commercial, you were making a point with regards to something Jesus said. Yes, the book of Matthew about tithes and justice.
Matthew 23:23. So Jesus was speaking to the Jews and the Pharisees. He says, "Woe be unto you, curse be unto you, that you put emphasis on tithe paying and leaving the weightier things like justice, like mercy, and that." Now, that tells me that justice is a weightier thing. Now, he said this year ought to do and not to leave the other. That means you can be paying the tithe. That's where Jesus confirmed to pay the tithe, but don't leave this weightier thing. Justice. Where there is continuous crisis like this, it means there's injustice. And there's injustice. And we must identify this injustice in the society and tell people that this is wrong. For instance, I thank the fact that the president called them for a dialogue. Don't forget that the governor is not from PDP. If the president and APC elected president can call the governor and the assembly, PDP, infested assembly, to come for peace dialogue, and they went, it means he needed peace. Now, if you look at the Pali, the governor came back, he withdrew a case. Yes, a lot of court cases here and there. Why? The assembly started throwing in stones, withdrawing the laws and all that. It could easily annoy such person. It is not justifiable anymore. He has withdrawn a case. He has presented commissioners. He has taken the commissioners. He is human. Allow this gradual process down to be throwing several laws at him. That is the way. I'm not saying that the governor is 100% good. He's human. He can make errors. But in this case, there's injustice. A man elected by the state, including the church members, including everyone, you couldn't have done this. You allow things to go on decently and in order. Injustice is a major thing. Cause of crisis, a major cause of crisis in a society. So how would you be justified in terms of sending in laws, even taking executive powers of appointing somebody in the House of Assembly Commission? You transfer those powers. There are three arms of government. The executive governor is the head of the executive arm. You transfer that appointment powers from him, and all sorts of laws you make. To these things are just injustice.
But
to me.
When you say, because there's something, take us back to something you said about the God factor. Is it just about the leaders or the people? Because I mean, some of the things you've highlighted, there are people that would listen to it and try to make a case out of it. I mean, if you even go to the judiciary, you wonder how they interpret some of the laws. You look at humans and you say, oh, for instance, this is what is written. He who steals would have to sit down here for 20 hours. Then the person that stole will now say, rather than just obeying what was said first, will now say, no, I have to go to court and get something to say, I cannot go and sit down. Why should I sit down? And then the court that knows what was written would now give you a judgment to say, okay, wait, let him not sit down first. Let us explain what sitting down means. And you wonder why we have laws. And if we even go over to Kano State, for instance, because we're looking at how we see politicians and leadership and religious leaders in Kano State. We now have the religious issues, traditional issues now being debated by politicians and government. How much of this influence should government have in these matters? What's the danger in it?
You see, you've just mentioned the Kano State issue. In the north, the way these things are run is that the religious leaders are basically the traditional rulers. And you can see that people are not looking at it from the angle of religion. Before, in Kano or in Sokoto, when the religious leader, who is the traditional ruler, speaks, all politicians calm down. And that's why I'm saying the God factor is losing out, declining gradually. A religious leader, now you can see the legislations they are doing from the houses of assembly, over the Emirates, over the Sultan of Sokoto and all that. So these are religious leaders in these units, and they are also feeling the effect of politicians. Well, some theologians will say these are signs of the end time, and which I say yes, I agree, they are signs of the end time. But there must be a way that decency, even when Jesus comes, there are still the righteous people that Christ will take home. We must be able to speak out. We must be able to speak for change. There's a high level of injustice in Rivers State. That is the crisis, as perpetrated by the politicians. I have been in the corridors of power. Most of these politicians who are talking now, I was sometime a governorship candidate, not aspirant. I was the leader of political parties. I was in the South and all that. So I know who they are. And I try as much as I can to stay away from them, because the whole system is too bad. But you can't totally stay away as a leader. You must give the necessary counseling. You have to be close. You have to render the emotional services if it is there required. But then the issue I'm saying here is that there is high level of injustice on Rivers people who have elected people down there, and the people they have elected are not coming back to them to ask questions from the electorate. And they pass certain laws. I've never seen this kind of thing. Maybe somebody will correct me, or if you correct me, that a legislative arm of a government has legislated to extend a tenure of a local government or a governor. I've never heard of it. It's not done. So these are part of the injustices we are talking about. So
is it a situation of what is legal and what is right?
Yes, talking about the law now. Yes, it is alleged that there are procurement of rulings, procurement of judgments and all that. And I think that for me, I will call for a judicial reform. We need to really reform the judiciary. For somebody to say, for instance, let me just tell you the truth, status quo should be maintained. Is it the first time they've said that? Now, what is the one with the modus operandi? What is the situation before you went to court? Now, you went to court and did some requests. Their request was not granted. So no, status quo maintained means before you let's pay. But the social lawyer explain different ways.
So that's why it brings us to, are we in a place in society where, because you can get a legal backing to a thing, it doesn't now matter whether it is right or wrong, because you have a legal backing? Is that where we are? Because there's not the question of what is legal and what is right.
Now, let me tell you something. Sometime one leader said, yes, I've received the judgment. I accept the judgment, but I don't agree with the judgment. I bought that statement. I accept the judgment because, well, it's a judgment from the Supreme Court. But I don't agree with it, but it's not right. So not everything that you get from the lawyers are right, but because we are bound by the law, you have to obey. I was also shocked sometimes when somebody said, in law, you go to from the high court, you go to appeal go to, when the Supreme Court gives its ruling or its judgment, you don't have any other place. The next place you need to go is to go to God. I said, so do you lawyer also know that there is God factor? So why don't you allow that God that you want to be the last person from the beginning? First. Allow God factor from the beginning. You should have the fear of God in your judgment. When you carry cases, every day they go to case when they know the case is wrong, and they will ask for something, and it's too scattered.
Let's take a few calls now quickly. 0817-923-0003. 0817-923-0003. You can also call 0817-923-0002. Let's keep it simple and straight to the point. We begin with Andy from Rukwaku. You could use your headphones, Pastor. Hello, Andy. Good morning.
Yeah, it's me. Good morning.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning to the man of God in the studio. Yes, I want to thank him very much for having come up to speak on behalf of the Christian body, because the last time I checked, here, Rivers State, mostly South, is made up of Christians. And any policy that is being made, and at the end of the day, it's going to affect or it's going to promote the benefits of these Christians. Be it as it may, I think we are the problem we are having in this state, Christians. But I thank God that today he has come up to speak. What are we saying? Andrew, all we are asking is peace. Just like what he has said, the court sometimes always says, when an action has been done, please, how do we remedy it? That's why the court will say, hold on until the matter is over. What am I saying in essence? Yes, the governor has faulted. Anybody can say yes, he has faulted by not conducting election. No issues about that. What we are saying is, how can we put up an election that at the end of the day, the state will be in peace? And the governor, as I know, has started it. What are we to do? Please, let's begin to beg everybody. Let's see, just like the other day, the governor has spoken and told his own people, nobody should do each and every evil or anything that you have in mind. If they don't want you to go to the council, go to somewhere and you can work from there. We expect the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to also advise his own people. We want peace. It is not every time everybody kills and at the end of the day you come up, you begin to say this. Please, this is Lambast, the man of God in the studio, he has come to say his own aspect because he's a Rivers man and he's also a Christian.
All right,
and
Andy.
policies are affecting him. So what we are begging, please, the minister should come out and talk to his people and count down. As I'm talking to you, the governor's tenure is coming to an end. So we're expecting another election. But for now, the governor still remains the governor and he has the
all right, Andy, thank you. Dagogo from HA, good morning.
Good morning, Femi Andro.
Welcome, Dagogo.
This is Dagogo from HA.
Go on.
I thank you, I guess. That religious leader that is there, the man is preaching well, and I love his preaching, the way he talks. Now look at where we are, because we are blaming most of religious leaders. When the former governor went to church, and the person and the religion get under the fire, till then, he was going to church, but none of them suspended him. And the religious leader to the party, the reverend, could not ask, no, this is out of God. How can you come back and be set under the fire someone? I love with his way. If they can come in, if you want him, they could not do anything. The people want to beat him, but tell him people, look at before he beats somebody, he said, look at what he's committed. The offense he committed. Before he beats a governor, a president. Well, this one, the Rivers people have not found that. Me, particularly the Dagogo, I'm a native man. I could not support him, but when I see him as a Moses that delivers Israelites, I was so happy with him. That man there, I love your preaching. If I know your church, I will come up and worship your church. You talk the truth. I can see the minister of the area. You tell the truth. Rivers people cannot come out and say no. You have that they will package somebody who did bad. Look at what happens in the presidential hotel. If those senators was killed, everything is a hand of Rivers. They want to cause crisis. So that's the major problem. Let me stop here. Thank you.
All right, Dagogo, thank you very much. Victor from Rumokrushi, good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Yeah, go on, Victor.
I thank your guest for studio for the good job. But I want to say this. The reason why the Christianity has been reduced to this extent is the way church himself keeps himself. Because I was in a church. I don't know if I can mention the name of the church.
No, you can't.
King's Assembly. When we came there, I was saying a lot of things. And now my question was, I asked myself a question. I said, in this church, this is a very different church. This is where you have learned people. People who knows the Bible, who knows the truth. And they were shaking their head. They were clapping and laughing. And now what does he tell me? He told me that these people look at the church like the most smallest place that they can just come and express themselves and do all they like. And sometimes they talk down on church, and the church will be laughing. You see people laughing, clapping hands. So he gave them the boldness and the audacity to talk and do a lot of things. They don't look at church as anything. So when you are talking about the God factor, it doesn't mean anything to them. How can you think that you can just be a God on the whole state like this? It's not possible. It will not work.
All right, Victor. Thank you. Let's see George in Buguma, and then we hear from Bright before my guest. George, good morning.
Yeah, Andrew, good morning.
All right, quick.
Let me greet
my brother in the studio. Good morning.
God bless you.
Yeah, Andrew. I thank the guests in the studio because even in the Bible contemporary days, you find out when David and Saul was battling, we have prophets who came out and spoke out. Prophet Nathan was there, another prophet, and today you have a decline because some of these men of God are afraid for ridicule and criticism. But we must continue to speak the truth because that is the only factor that will set us free. Now, to me, yesterday, the distinguished senator, Dagogo, was with the governor. I think with such a looming danger as a threat to the life of national senators, I expect him that when he goes back, as he confessed today, he should raise that topic and know that ordinarily the state, River State, is not in siege. But some few elements are trying to cause crisis.
All right, George, thank you. Well, we don't have all the time. We have to go to Remo Dumaya. Bright is on the line. Quickly, Bright, let's hear you before we wrap up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, go on.
When we talk about religion or Christian to politics, I think let me begin by saying that I think we have gotten two Christian governors that are pastors from Akwa Ibom and one from the northern state. I also want to tell you that between these two pastors that are Christians, they will check them after their tenure to know whether they will do well to compare with non-Christians. That's number one. I also know that from the man of God that is there, the Bible also says that this system of government is not for Christians. We are talking about a system of government that is here on earth. And also the Bible lets us know that when the righteous rule, that the people rejoice. How many of these persons that have led that the people rejoice is just one thing or the other? These are one of the things. And as a Christian, if you go into politics, will you be able to compromise? Will you be able to deliver to let the people know that, yes, this is the things of God? Politics, earthly leadership is not of God. Earthly leadership is of earth. When we talk about Christians, hello?
Bright, would have to, I think your point made, we don't have a lot of time. My guest to respond, but one question from Facebook or one submission here from Bobby. He says, good morning to you and your guests. Please, I want you to tell your guests not to take sides. I'm expecting him to preach for peace and not take sides. Now, this is it. How do we draw the line of saying if a person is wrong, we say, oh, this what you have done is wrong? Because most times when people say take sides, it's almost as though when you come for a matter and you point out one person who is wrong in what he has done, technically it's you are supporting the next person, because why would you? How do we address that? Just in under 2 minutes, because we're about to wrap up. Your final words.
I want you to know that whatever thing you say, somebody must say you have taken side. No matter what you say. If you make any statement, you must not always be on the fence. If somebody is wrong, the way I'm talking. So when you speak that this thing is wrong, some other person will say, yes, he is supporting the other person because you've said you are wrong and you're wrong. But I believe that there is injustice, and if there must be peace, there is injustice rather in the society, and that's why there is crisis. And if there must be peace, we must try and instill justice into the system. And the Bible, like I said earlier, says that let all things be done decently and in order. So when we come to speak like this, I said also, some people say, as a pastor, you don't need to talk out like this. You need to be quiet. You need to be praying. And when you come to we don't talk. Some people will also complain that pastors don't talk. But I think at this point, it's important we talk. In fact, I'm meeting with the DPG of River, because DPG means the Directorate of Politics and Good Governance. Politics is over. We are in the era of good governance. And we must be able to profile how the good governance will be in the present system to the people. That's what we're doing.
All right, Doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Minaibi Dagogo Jack, Chairman, PFN, River State Chapter. We go on to Hello Port Harcourt. Good morning.